Welcome to the Successfully Unemployed Show. My name is Dustin Heiner, and I'm here to help you learn how to quit that JOB, that just overbroke job, by any means possible. And today, I am super pumped to have a fantastic investor as well as business owner. His actually has a business that's on the Inc. 5000 list of great companies. And so I have the smart real estate coach, Prefontaine, on the show. Hey, Chris, thanks for being on the show, man.
Oh, it's a pleasure. Glad to be here.
You've got plenty of businesses. Obviously, you invest in real estate, and I love real estate. Real estate's my favorite vehicle. I love how it's passive income and you get so many benefits. Now tell me, what do you do to provide for yourself and your family without working that dead end job?
Yeah, it's been a long time since the JOB. Maybe we can get into it later, but to answer the question now, we buy and sell real estate in New England. My son and I, my son-in-law, and a great team are surrounding us. And I say New England, mainly Connecticut, Mass, Rhode Island, and we only buy, Dustin, on terms, and that is lease purchase, owner financing, or subject to, because we don't take loans out anymore. And we can get into that later after the crash, but that's what I do now. And then we turn around, we teach others how to do that all around the country right now. I've got hundreds of students that we literally do deals with. In other words, we're in the trenches, we're doing deals with them. We don't just sell them some idea.
Man, that's awesome. And thinking of subject to, I mean, it seems like subject to is like a lost art now, especially with all the mortgages now. You can't literally assign over mortgage, but we'll get to that in just a second. So tell us about what you were doing before. And I know you have an interesting thing that happened to you that shook you up to where you got into investing in real estate, but what were you doing before? And then what got you into investing?
Yeah. So I'll go two tiers here. Be as brief as I can. You can peel back if you want to go back. So in 91, I grew up in a welding supply business, not real estate, but my dad kind of tinkered with real estate, did some, he'd get raw land, he'd permit it, he'd flip it, he'd put up his own buildings in the welding business. He'd put up his own buildings and lease them back to himself. So I was exposed to that. I always thought that was cool. I didn't know how you could lease a building to yourself and didn't know about LLCs. I was young. So once I learned that, I had a niche. He sold his company in 91. It was summer of 91. In the fall of 91, not more than a month working for them, they let me go. So I literally got fired from my father's company a month in. You had 4 kids. I remember you telling me. I had 2 kids at the time. They were 91. They were 1 and 2. So no income. I think they gave me my car for severance and maybe a month's pay, something like tiny. But similar to your story, I was ecstatic. I remember driving to my office the first day thinking, this is really cool. Like I get to do my thing. Young and naive, and we cranked it up. We're doing some building of homes and cool stuff. Now, if I fast forward, just to give you that 2-tier, I said, how I get today though is the crash, right? So I was in real estate, but then the crash happened and I was annihilated financially where some of my projects went down 2/3. That's pretty big. And so I was forced to say, okay, well, how are we going to operate now? And that was don't ever take out a loan and sign personally again, because I got hit hard by banks. And so that's how this was all born back in 2011, 12-ish. And we never turned back. That's all we do now. We control about 80 million plus in real estate. We don't use money. We don't take out bank loans.
Man, that's fantastic. I'm thinking not using bank loans, because a lot of people say, well, if you're going to invest in real estate, you can only get to so many, like 4 mortgages. I call the banks and they won't give me more than 4, but then the criteria from the IRS is 10. You're like, how do you keep getting more properties? Well, I think there's many different ways, and subject to, and just like how you're doing it's just phenomenal. So we'll definitely get into that. Now, when you're thinking about getting into real estate and you don't want to use your own money, what's the first step? Like, is it education? Is it literally just start knocking on doors? What's the first step that we need to do in order to start our real estate investing business?
I would tell, look, I'm biased to my niche, right, of terms, but I'm not so naive to think everybody should do that. So here's a simple formula for you. I don't care what niche in real estate. So before you go knock on doors or pick up the phone, first find a niche that you love. Like I just had you on my show recently, and your niche, your method, your path is cool. So find a niche, find a method, find something you like and you can get behind, morally, ethically, and business-wise. It makes sense for you. That's number 1. Number 2, then find someone in that niche. Like if it's buy and hold, you're going to call Dustin. So find someone in that niche that you can get behind. And again, not just business, but you like what they do for family, moral, ethical, everything. Then the third thing is put the blinders on for 36 months and don't get the shiny object syndrome and go look at all these other 50,000 different ways to make money in real estate, because you can. One niche to start off. Then that person will tell you what's next to your question. Okay, here's what you want to do. You want to mail? We don't, but you want to mail or you want to pick up the phone, whatever you're going to do. They'll teach you. Don't try to reinvent the wheel. Does that make sense?
It absolutely does. And so for everybody listening, you guys got to realize that he gave you some big, broad things that you need to do, but like it's very, very important. In fact, I'm the type of person, I work to learn. Like if I'm going to go, I would actually pay Warren Buffett money to work for him. Instead of him paying me, I'd pay him money because the networking that I get around, the knowledge, the experience, all that sort of stuff, I would just learn so much. So I'd rather get knowledge. I'd rather help and get that return just by expertise. And so same thing exactly like you were saying. If you're getting around the right people who've done it before that can walk you through the process, what better option is that? So now, Chris, I love the idea of subject to. I personally have never done subject to, which means actually explain what subject to real estate is, and then how do we do that?
Sure. And let me preface it with this, Dustin. If you're new and you're listening and you're one of Dustin's tribe, listen to this. In a tribe, it's not, in my opinion, the first niche you should go to. We buy three ways. This would be the third if you're brand new. Subject to simply means you're buying someone's home, subject to the existing financing staying in place. You're not applying for the loan. You're not assuming the loan. None of that. You are making the payments on their behalf. The loan stays in their name. And out of all three ways we buy, because some ways we buy, people are very well off. They're debt free. But this particular method usually lends itself to someone in one or two categories. They need debt relief. That's why they're willing to say, hey, I'll just sell you my home. I'm gonna deed you the home and I don't care. The loan can stay in my name as long as you pay it. Second type person is they might have been in their home for 2 out of 5 years for the one-time exclusion, for personal residence, but they left for 3 years. Now the clock's ticking. If they don't get it sold, they're going to get capital gains. So we can do a sub two then too. So those are the two reasons why someone would do it. And those are very lucrative deals because there's no term on those. You own those for, however long you want.
So with those, a big concern comes to me, like the mortgage companies they used to allow you to actually assign over the mortgage to you. Does the mortgage stay in the seller's name? And then how does the title work out? And how does it work out to where the bank doesn't just do a due on sale clause and take the property? Like, how do you protect yourself from losing the property?
Biggest question. Okay, the first answer. So let me just do the normal disclosure. Definitely not an attorney. So you go with your local attorney in this.
Absolutely.
But here's the deal. There's never been a due on sale exercise on us. Here's why. Banks don't want the property. They want you to pay the bill. Now, if you foolishly, so like some crooks have done, literally, like there's been stories on TV about this, they'll accumulate 30, 40 of these properties and take off, literally take off. There's a federal case on this. So unfortunately, it spoils the playing field, Dustin, for people like you and I that do it right. So first, pay the bill. If you take a property on, you pay the bill on time like you should. Secondly, we do some titling that does, we feel, safeguard triggering due on sale. There was an act in 1982, called the Guyman-St. Germain Act. It was set up so that properties could transfer title, not trigger the due on sale if it was for family estate planning reasons. So not that every seller of mine is a family member, but what we do is we trigger. So let's say Dustin's the seller and he has a property on 123 Jump Street. We're going to title that in a trust. The beneficiary is my LLC, but we're going to title that in his trust. And the trust is called 123 Jump Street, Dustin Family Trust, or your last name, Family Trust. Now, does that mean it's fail safe? No, it's just another layer of protection. You pay your bill and that's the main layer of protection. Long answer, but good question. So we don't assign, we don't take over, we don't do any of that. We just make the payments for them.
I love it. And it's literally not long at all. I mean, long answer wise, like that's a great way to look at it, because when you're looking at the property, you have it in a trust, which is very, very secure. At the same time, you're trying to set levels of protection. And the big thing is the bank does not want the property. They want the money. So if you don't give them a reason to take it back, they're going to say, thank you, just keep paying the mortgage payment. Now, is there any negatives to, because I'm going to ask you, like, how do we find these people that are wanting to do this subject to, but what negatives can we watch or should we watch out for? Like, what kind of snacks could come in the way of, like, we already have it under our name or it's in the trust, we already have that. What snacks can come up that we need to watch out for?
Well, let's play devil's advocate. It's never happened to me, but let's play devil's advocate and say, for whatever reason, the bank decides they're doing a scan. I don't know if they'll even do it, but they police it and they want to call the loan for whatever reason. They're selling or whatever. There was an attorney of ours. We have students all over the country that do these. There's an attorney in Pennsylvania who said, look, there's a local bank, to one of my students. There's a local bank that's sort of watching out for this stuff. They're very small. They're very local. Why don't you take it in what we call a contract for deed, where the deed sits in escrow? Perfect solution. You can do those all day long. Again, not fail safe, just another layer of protection. A contract for deed is similar to a closing, only it's a contract that says this deed's sitting in escrow. You are acting like the owner, you are writing it off, but that deed does not go on record yet until the end of the deal is paid off. And so that's a little safer. However, let's say you had the trust, Dustin, that we just talked about. Could you maybe perhaps, if a bank called the note, just simply change the beneficiary of the trust to you and the owner? Sure. Why not? Again, I'm not an attorney, but it's what I would do. I've never been, no one's ever called us on it, but that's what I would do. But the contract for deed is a safe way to do it up front if you don't want to have any of those thoughts or hassles, or if it's going to keep you up at night.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Now, what do you do? Because again, I'm going to talk to you about how do we find these people, but what do you do with these properties? Are they rental properties? Do you try to flip them? Do you hold on to them? What do you do with these properties?
Good question. No matter how we buy, owner financing, sub 2 or lease purchase, no matter how we buy, we exit all the same, typically, just to keep this simple. We will work with a lot of self-employed or COVID affected or credit repair. People need credit enhancement. They basically, all three of those people I said, there's other examples, divorce, et cetera, but those three people that I mentioned need time. That's all they need. They're good buyers. So we do a rent to own program that is very specifically qualifying them ahead of time. There are hordes of educators online, like publicly, saying, I don't qualify, put them in the home. And if they don't qualify, it's okay. Do another one. Well, that's bogus morally and ethically. So we put them through pretty stringent criteria. So we set them up to win. And then we know if we put them in the home, unless they have a life event, like earth-shattering life event, a death, COVID, unless that happens, they're cashing this house out. So you're setting them up to win. And there's other advanced strategies, but the basic answer is that's the way we exit most.
I think that's fantastic. I've done rent to own, which is fantastic. I mean, it really helps the people in that neighborhood or in the area that are living there. I invest all over the country. And so I'm not going to live there, but other people will. And so I'm like, hey, let's try to build up these communities, which is another huge benefit of doing that. Now, when you're doing that, you looks like, I mean, as we're trying to exit the property, do we sell for a certain dollar amount and that's the dollar amount and they make the payments to where, it's, you're like the banker? How do we justify, or not justify, how do we make sure that we're getting the right sales amount for the property with the buyer?
Yeah, good question. Typically, we'll go anywhere from market to slight premium because we are offering terms and we can get that. And then when they make their monthly lease payments, that is not crediting the price. That is strictly a lease vehicle to get them to the end zone to be mortgage ready. And they have to sign an addendum and they have to participate in credit enhancement if that's what they need, or seasoning activities if that's what they need, if they're self-employed. And Dustin, as a side note, COVID has driven up by about 200%, depending on what stat you pick. But if you Google this, 200% higher than, say, 2019 with entrepreneurs going on their own. You know what that means? Every single one of those buyers that were going to go buy a house, that have good credit, that have good cash, they need 2 years seasoning. And so they are phenomenal buyers. They have cash. They're ready to plunk it down on your house. And that's your payday one. We create 3 paydays a deal, but that's your payday one. And they're awesome because they're going to cash you out. You're going to work with real buyers that just need time.
So you get the lease payments, you make money there, and that doesn't go on the purchase price. Then they buy the property from you after a couple of years, after they build it up. Hopefully within 2 years, they have the money to be able to buy and actually get a mortgage. And then you cash out when you sell for that price that you guys agreed upon when you first moved in. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. So 3 paydays, you kind of said it, 2 of them. So the first payday is the down payment that goes right in your pocket. It's non-refundable. Payday 2, and I'll give you what these numbers mean. Payday 2 is the difference between what you're paying the mortgage or the seller and then what you're collecting, right? Ranges 300 to 1,000, similar to your rentals. And then the back end is the price markup. Yes, you said that, but also here's what's cool. It's all of the principal pay down through the term while you were controlling that underlying debt or paying the seller, maybe principal only payments. But that principal pay down is huge. You benefit as the investor. So at the very end, you're getting all of that. Those 3 paydays for us, Dustin, our personal family team, 75 grand per house. Around the country, they range 45,000 to 250, our students. So we're actually in the lower end just because our price range is low.
Well, that's fantastic. And so if you guys want to know more about how to do it, like the specific ins and outs, because I'm thinking contracts and all that sort of stuff that you need to make sure you get done right, definitely check out Chris and everything he's doing. Now, talk to me about how do we find these people? It was knocking on doors, yellow letters. How do we find these people to do the subject to or the lease option and stuff like that?
Yeah, we've got the metrics dialed in. I'm not big on mailers because of the cost, right? And it's not that they don't work. It's just for a new person starting, it's hard to say, open your pocketbook and spend 2, 3, 4, 10,000 I've heard on mailers. So we hire virtual assistants. You can do it yourself. When I came out of the crash and I was broke, I dialed myself until I had like my first deal. I saw the light, and then I hired a virtual assistant. So the ideal answer is virtual assistant. I have some that have been with us since 2013. They do tens, hundreds now of thousands of dials. So they will call expireds, they will call for rent by owner, and they will call for sale by owner without looking at niched lists yet. They'll call those three. They'll give us the people, Dustin, that kind of said, yeah, I'm open to terms. They raise their hand. Then we call those people.
That's terrific. Now, how do you get these lists? What's the best way to get the list of these people?
We have a service that just feeds those every day. If you on our website, we have all our services we do. We don't hide them, like they're there, but that one's called My Plus Leads, and they will feed you those three categories, or one if you just want one. But the reason 3 is nice, all three of those categories, this market right now, if you're a FSBO, you have a great chance of selling, right? That's coming to an end soon. It's going to get harder, but they're selling now. So now I fish a little bit more in the for rent by owner or the expired pond, right? And then the market slows down a little bit, you might fish a little bit more in the FSBO pond. So it just depends on how the market's going. We designed this now to literally react in any market. And that's why out of the crash, we said, this can't happen again. And this thing's about as recession resistant model as you can possibly get.
No, I love it, especially when you have people that are living in a home they're going to own. Like renters, they move whenever they want. But if somebody's buying to own, that's
Different
even
mentality.
much more. Yes, 100%. They have kids in school there. They have basically a business or a job that they're going to right there, hopefully. And so
Right.
It's a great way to actually continue to do this. Now, is there anything else that I might have missed? Like any question I might have missed that we need to know about these subject twos? Because it seems really interesting. Somebody could start with very little money, but at the same time, how do we make sure we do it right? And anything I might have missed?
Actually, I missed when you said what are the snags. So my bad. You just reminded me. On a sub two, keeping in mind that category of seller usually is in debt. They're really stressed. You got to pay the transfer tax usually. If your state has transfer tax, most do. So there's a little cost. That's one of the many reasons I said don't do it as your first deal. A lease purchase, on the other hand, no deed transfers, and all our agreements are built with $10 deposit. So there's nothing that we missed on the sub twos. It's just I wouldn't make it your first deal, really. I'd make sure and if you say, hey, I got a little powder on the sidelines, I have a few $1,000, I could do those, fine. Go make sure you do what I said, whether it's me or someone else. Find someone that knows how to do them. There's a lot of information now, Dustin, as you know, on the internet. We have like 100 it might be up to 150 now, 150 deals, 150 that we've whiteboarded and shown you the good, the bad, and the ugly. We don't just give you the good stuff, and that's on YouTube. Like, just go look at it's free. Just go camp out or someone else's, but go research for free.
So how many calls would one need to make in order to get one of these sub twos? Like, is there going to be like 100 calls? I mean, give or take, but I mean, an average, how many calls would we have to make?
I can give you the metrics that we've, because it's been years. For every 11, okay, let me quantify what 11 means. So when that virtual assistant hands you a property sheet and says, hey, this seller said maybe or yes, for 11 of those, you'll get an appointment. For 17, you'll get a contract. And for 25, you'll have a 3 payday deal. Now, it doesn't mean, here's what I tell the students, caution. It doesn't mean the first 25 deals I get you're going to have a sold. You got to fill the funnel a little bit. But in general, those are the metrics over the course of like 6 months.
Man. And so I'm assuming that all your coaching that you do is literally gives everybody the step-by-step process to implement this into their own lives and create a business of their own. Is that correct?
Yeah, we do. They can do it on their own, but they want to, if they're aggressive and or they don't want to like leave any money on the table, because these are lucrative. You can afford to leave some money on the table if you don't know what you're doing, but why not get it straight? So get it right rather. So there's different programs we have where we literally lock arms with people, unlike a lot of marketers. That's why I love what you do too. Like, it's just in the trenches. Here's what I do. We go in the trenches, we interact with our students, we do the deals with them versus a great marketer. There's many of them out there that sell me and you something. They could kill us if you do a deal. I want them to do deals and we show them how to do it.
Same exact thing for me. Like, I literally run the numbers with them. I literally analyze. I even negotiate. Like, just 2 seconds before we jumped on this call, I helped my student negotiate $3,000 off of the offer price. That's $3,000 in his pocket, and so I love doing it. It's just so much fun as you're coaching, because you're like, man, look at the success that we're bringing to other people and benefiting other people. Okay, so let's jump into the idea of a Inc. magazine, Inc. 5000 company. Now, is that your sub two business, or is that the Smart Real Estate Coach business?
Good questions. Smart Real Estate Coach. Yeah, they go by, I tell you what, going through that, it's not like you're joining a club. They do audits. They got my CFO involved. They got a CPA involved. It was pretty grueling, and you got to have the growth percentage. Then you have to have everything else lined up, right? And so we applied, and like 6 or 8 months later, after all the due diligence, it's like you're opening your doors to them, literally showing them everything. They got us on the list. We ended up somewhere like right in the middle of the 5,000. I think our number was 2466. So like right in the middle.
So is it worth it to be on? I mean, it's a good thing. Like I love it. It's a wow, Inc. 5000. That's a pretty awesome. Like that's an accomplishment. But is it worth it to get that? Opening all your books and all that sort of stuff. It probably is. I just got to ask you since you are on it.
Well, no, this is good because here's why I think it's worth it. It's sort of like you can use the word authority or credibility, whatever you want. But here's the fact: there is nobody in our space that I see, unless there's a big name that's kind of like I don't know what they do type thing. But there's nobody in our space, at least the people I know in the terms world, that are in the Inc. 5000. So what does it mean to the listener? Simple. You want to make sure when I said go find the niche, go find the person, go follow them. Well, how about follow someone that absolutely dots the I's and crosses the T's, right? So that it's sort of, we did it for that. I don't have an ego around it. I did it so that people understood that we're the real deal and we know how to grow it. We know how to get deals done or we wouldn't have made it.
Yeah. Like you said, they verified to make sure, hey, they're not going to put just any junky company on there on the list. They're going to verify it, like you said. So that is fantastic. Now, as we're thinking about any subject too, I want to jump into going at the rapid fire round. We're going to ask you a few questions. Now, the rapid fire round is the questions are short, but your answers don't have to be. So the first question is, you've given us lots of great insights. Is there anything else we might have left out that we need to know?
Everything you and I talk about is deals and you and I, it's what we do deals. So our brains go that way. But I want the listener to know that it's not about the deal because Dustin and I can sit with you. We can show you how to do a deal like literally this weekend. What the challenge becomes is you go to do the deal in the real world. And if you didn't say you don't have us, you're doing this on your own. There are so many mental facets of this game in every real estate niche. That's the challenge. Going from your JOB, which Dustin teaches you how to do, to the entrepreneur. That's a big deal mentally. That's more important than learning whatever niche that you can learn, whether it's Dustin's or mine. Doesn't matter. The mental game is more than you think. Promise you that.
I 100% agree with that. And here's the thing, and you would know this exactly, Chris. I can teach literally anybody how to invest in real estate. I literally do that, but I can't get them over that hurdle in their brain, that mindset shift to where that they realize that they can do this. And that's why, like you and I have these podcasts. That's why we just are constantly giving this stuff away, because it takes that much for them to realize that they can do it. So I know with all the coaching that you've done, you see that as well. Okay, so next question. If you were to go back and give your younger self any bit of advice, business, life, what would it be?
Two things. The first part could sound fluffy to people. The fact is on this mental piece, the first piece is think bigger. And here's why I say that. When I went through the crash, there was obviously mindset issues. There was labels. There was all kinds of affiliate things hitting. So I didn't think as big. So it took 4 years to dig out. In hindsight, if I just simply planned that, and then the second piece is get the people around me that can help me do that. The only time that I didn't have a mentor, this will be probably surprising to you. The only time since I was in college I didn't have a mentor was the 2008 crash. Why? Because I got cocky. I got it. The market was running. I was running. You were in that. And so I said, okay, I don't need anyone. I didn't realize this till like 2 years ago. I said, oh, that sucks. I didn't have anyone. And that's why it's no one to lean on to say, no, Chris, here's how you pivot. There were people a lot worse than me, but I didn't know it then because I didn't have anyone to lean on. So definitely the mentor and then that mental piece.
I love that. Now, what's interesting, because you mentioned something about having other people around you. I found investing, actually anything in life, business especially, gets so much better when you have other people around you, not just working for you. Those are great. Like employees are great, but you have peers, people that are doing the same thing. The ones that are not naysayers, like your aunt who says, oh, you can't do this. I know somebody that did it. Don't listen to them. You want to get around people that have actually done it, especially mentors. But then at the same time, even just peers, getting a mastermind, work with other people, it just helps you so much. And so, Chris, I did share with you this on your show, but I am actually creating a conference. It's called the Real Estate Wealth Builders Conference. It's going to be here in March, like in 2 months from now. And it's all about helping people. And so it's everything from no flipping, no wholesaling, because that's not investing, in my opinion. What we're trying to do is create long-term wealth, just like you're doing. And so it's basically bringing us all investors that have audience, bringing us all together and building a community, helping everybody out. And so that's something that we could definitely, you and I could talk about too. But okay, next question. Oh, sorry. Did you want to say something?
No, I said love it. I'm game.
Awesome. So with that Real Estate Wealth Builders, it's called RubeCon, but it's going to be a place where we're bringing all of our communities and we're going to say, hey, let's all get together. Let's make investing better. Okay. So next question, what is your favorite book or one that we would recommend that's either business or life, a nonfiction book?
Look, every time you ask me about a book, it's going to be each week, maybe, but certainly every month it'll be different because my mind's going, here's what I need next, right? Mentally or whatever. Good one for the listeners, though, on a broad base would be Behind the Arches, I think it's called. It's the McDonald's story, one of the many, but it's the one the movie was made in conjunction with. Why? Because it has real estate, it has business building, it has the mental, it has the struggle, it has everything in it. The other one I like recently is Michael Dell's new book. Amazing. Absolutely amazing. Where he journeys everything he's done.
I'm going to have to check both of those out. Yeah, I remember. So Ray Kroc, the founder of McDonald's, basically he's the one that blew it up to where it is. He was at some college, I can't remember which one it is, at a business seminar. He said, everybody, what business do you think I'm in? And kids were raising their hand saying, oh, hamburger business, restaurant business, blah, blah, blah. He goes, no, none of that. I'm in the real estate business. It just so happens I just put a restaurant there and let people have the business, but that's what I own. And so McDonald's owns so much stinking real estate all over the world. It's amazing. Okay, last question. What is your favorite? It could be a tool or an app or a piece of paper and a pencil. Like, what is one tool in your life that you use that we should look into using?
Okay, this will probably surprise you too, but because I'm on the mental piece, there's a million probably apps for meditation. I use one called Waking Up, and I don't start the day without it. And you can program as little as 10 minutes. So don't think this is like I got to go meditate in a corner with it and say ums for an hour and a half. I'm talking 10 minutes, and it starts my day. So that comes to mind today. Just you asked me, 10 minutes might be different, but that's what comes to mind right now.
Well, if it makes your day better, then absolutely. Man, Chris, so people are going to want to reach out to you. I think Subject to is a fantastic way, not just for you, but you help people as well get out of binds. So how can people reach out to you? How can they obviously check out my episode on your show as well, but how can they find you and how can they listen to you?
Yeah, your episode's going to air around February 2nd. If you're hearing this after it, great, go see it. If you're hearing it before it, take a peek when it comes up. I'll give you two things. Some people like to talk live, and some people would rather say, hey, I kind of want to camp out and do my thing first. So if you like to talk live, we'll give you a free strategy call. Just go to smartrealestatecoach.com/action. You will actually speak with myself, my son-in-law, or our strategy expert who 2.5 years ago had Zippo for real estate experience, and he's created quite a life. If you would rather just kind of go do your thing and camp out, I get that for privacy reasons, or you want to do your due diligence, we have a free class. Just go to smartrealestatecoach.com/masters class. You get me. So if you can deal with me for another 55 minutes, you got me going through the whole exact way we buy and sell that Dustin and I just talked about.
That's fantastic. And obviously check out his podcast. It's great podcast. And so, man, Chris, giving us so much great insights. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you, buddy. Appreciate you having me. Be safe.